did I get here? From the basement to the boardroom. This is Billy Nash. Welcome to my first podcast. Well, how'd I get here? You know, a lot of people, when they see me in the industry, one of the top real estate agents in the country, I make it look easy, but I got a long history of successes and failures, which got me to where I am today, which all started in my humble roots, born in Long Branch, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore. And where does the basement come in? Well, my mother, Loretta, brought me up as a single mom, and we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment on Bath Avenue. And, I literally had my bedroom was in the basement, which by the way, used to flood. So on big rainstorms during the summers, was a good shot that my bedroom would fill up with about 6 inches of water, those damn basements. But, where did my career start? Where did I go to college? I figured I'd, kind of bring everybody up to speed, the listeners on, where I am today in South Florida and how I got here. And there was lots of ups and downs. But I think it's a pretty interesting story to tell. So the listeners can get familiar with exactly who I am and how hard I worked and all the mentors that I've had in my life. And I continue to have these mentors today, which always keeps me driven to succeed. So I went to Catholic school. When I was in grammar school, I went to Star of the Sea in kindergarten. My mother worked 2 jobs, got divorced when I was probably about 7 years old. And from that day on, my mother knew that I needed a mentor in my life, which today I still have mentors. And I'm sure everybody that's listening has a mentor in their life that they looked up to that kind of guided them in the right direction. And if you don't have a mentor, get one. So when I was 8 years old, my mother contacted the Big Brother, Big Sister program in New Jersey. As a single mom working 2 jobs, she knew I needed some sort of influence in my life to help guide me. So I remember it like it was yesterday. I was introduced to a gentleman by the name of Jack Kelly. And Jack was just out of law school working for the Attorney General of New Jersey. And he had some heroes and mentors in his life, and he wanted to give back. And so they matched us up, and I was 8 years old, and I'll never forget the first day that we met. He pulled up in his green Mustang, and we walked around the corner, and we got ice cream at Valentino's, which is an Italian market right around the corner from our apartment. And we talked about baseball. We talked about fishing. We talked about football. We talked about all the things that a little kid at 8 years old would want to talk about. So when we got back to the apartment, Jack and I hit it off right away. And he said to me, you know what? My mother said, go show him your room and all the stuff they have set up, all the posters that you have. So I remember that day like it was yesterday when Jack Kelly pulled up in his green Mustang, and there was an opportunity for me to have a new mentor in my life, or really the only mentor in my life at 8 years old. Not really knowing what a mentor was, but I'll never forget it. We went around the corner, we walked, and we talked about everything an 8-year-old kid would want to talk about. Baseball, football, fishing, just having fun and being a kid. And we got ice cream at Valentino's, which was an Italian market right around the corner from the apartment. And after that, we walked back to the apartment. My mom was sitting on the couch, and my little sister, who at that point was only about 3 years old, my mom said to him, because I was a huge football fan, Billy, go show Jack your bedroom. So I said, come on, Jack. And at this point, I was still in the bedroom upstairs because I wasn't old enough to move my bedroom to the basement yet, because there were only 2 bedrooms. So me and my sister were in there. So I brought him up to my room and I showed him all my Dallas Cowboy paraphernalia. I had the Dallas Cowboy rug. I had the Dallas Cowboy posters, Roger Dorsett, you name it, I had it. So I'll never forget the look on Jack's face as we walked downstairs. We sat back into the living room with my mom and my little sister. And my mom said, what do you think? And Jack looked at me and he said, I'm sorry, I can't be his big brother. And I was devastated. I looked at Jack and I said, why? And Jack looked at me and he said, well, I'm a New York Jet fan, and you got to get rid of all the Dallas Cowboy stuff, and then I'll be your big brother. So from that day on, I got rid of the Dallas Cowboys, and I became a New York Jet fan. And actually, for the next 10 years, I was absolutely tortured by going to so many games that the Jets lost, freezing cold, sitting in traffic, while the Dallas Cowboys went on to win multiple Super Bowls. But you know what? It was more important for Jack to be my big brother in the Big Brother Big Sister program than to latch onto a football team. So I'll take the losing New York Jets at that point to have Jack in my life. And that really kind of spun spun me around that, I started to create as I got a little bit older and saw the things that Jack had taught me, values, staying on track in school, setting goals, things that I do today, every day. I still set goals every day. And that kind of sent me on the trajectory to realize that there were more things to do than just, live in the apartment in Long Branch for the rest of my life. So my senior year in high school, of course, I wasn't a scholar student. Anybody that knows me, I, had a lot of fun and, do what you do when you're 15, 16, and 17 years old. I was living in my mother's basement. And when I was about to graduate from high school in Long Branch, my guidance counselor at the time was my mother's guidance counselor 25 years prior. And one of the things he said to me is, you know what, Billy, you got two things going for you. And I said, well, what's that, Mr. Stevenson? He said, you're poor and I like you. So I said, well, what does that mean? He says, well, since you really don't have any ambitions to go off to a 4-year school at this point, you're going to go to a community school, there's nothing wrong with a community school. There's an opportunity for me to get you into college through a program called the EOF program, which was the Equal Opportunity Fund that was put in place to help inner city kids that didn't have the academics or the finances to get in school. And if you got in, which he told me, there was one caveat. You had to leave right after graduation and go to an academic boot camp where you literally spent the next 7 weeks during the summer getting prepared for the college life. So I got accepted and I did that. There was about 100 students from all over the tri-state area, and we did it. In the morning, we exercised at 6:30 in the morning, and then we started from 8 to 12 studies and learning from different professors. And then in the afternoon, we did the same. So it kind of prepared you for that, that first semester. You got 2 credits. And then when September started, I was ahead of the game and I never looked back. So my freshman year, I really got focused and dialed in. And I knew for some reason, being around Jack and seeing the heroes in his life, business owners, entrepreneurs, I knew I wanted to do something in economics or finance or sales, or I'm a people person and I've always been. So I, took a full load of classes freshman year, and I just had this desire to understand or learn more about real estate. For some reason, my aunt at the time was a real estate broker, and I just kind of thought that was something that maybe I would, pursue. And so with a full load of classes at night, I actually took the real estate classes, borrowed a couple bucks to take the class, and ended up my spring year of my freshman year getting my real estate license at 18 years old. So that summer, I figured, you know what? I'm going to hang my license with a local real estate firm. And I did. And my first week in the office, I rolled up my sleeves. There was no problem with picking up the phone, and I was a cold caller. I would knock on doors. I would cold call. And there was an apartment building that was in the process of being converted to condominiums. And it was in Belmar, New Jersey. And I remember calling the man that owned those apartments, and it wasn't listed with anyone. And I went and I gave him a presentation. I did research on the water in the Jersey Shore getting cleaner. I did a bunch of homework on the population growth on the shore. I did some work on the conversions of apartment complex into condominiums. And guess what? 18 years old, I got the listing, all 30 of them. Here's the problem. Real estate is more of a longer term game. And when you're in college, tick tock, I had to get back in the fall semester. So I had to give up those listings after about a month because at the end of the day, I had to make money. I had to make cash. I was a broke college kid. So I let my license go. It became inactive. And that was my first dabble in real estate when I was 18 years old. So let's fast forward for the next 3 years of what I did. So I knew I needed to make some cash. So like a lot of the top salesmen that you meet around the country or saleswomen, what were they in? They were in the restaurant business. They were waiters. And so I got a job at a deli in Deal, New Jersey. And I worked every single weekend in that deli, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, probably 40 hours. I made cash. I was able to pay my bills in college. And that was an unbelievable opportunity to really network and build relationships that I still have to this day, 30 years later. So it goes back to the old saying, relationships matter. I was a relationship guy back then, and I still am now in my luxury real estate business. Relationships are critical. So my senior year in college, I'm waiting on tables, and I'm about to graduate from Stockton State College in South Jersey, which is about 15 minutes from Atlantic City. And there was a guy, Pat, that I used to wait on all the time. He'd come in on Sunday mornings. And at that point, I had decided, a few years back that I would study finance and economics. I loved the economic part of the economy. And of course, I loved money and banking. Don't let anybody fool you. Everybody loves money. It gets you nice stuff. So money and banking I studied. And I knew that I wanted to be on Wall Street. I knew I wanted to be on Wall Street, but how do I get there? How do I make it? What do I need to do? So Pat and I talked to all of the customers about my goals and my ambitions. And, so Pat says to me, right before I'm graduating, I'm about to put all my resumes out. Pat says, hey, Billy Boy. People called me Billy Boy. And by the way, let's get back to the Billy Boy. The owner of Richard's Deli, Vince, was an amazing influence in my life. Another incredible mentor that to this day, I still love. Vince is the best. He guided me. He was a stock market investor. And before I would even bring out that first matzo ball soup, I'd always ask Vince what he did in the market for that week. What a great guy, and I love him. So Pat says, Billy Boy, so when do you graduate? I said, Pat, I'm graduating in 2 weeks, and I want to be on Wall Street. So at this point, I really never knew what Pat did. I knew he was a smart guy, and he was a businessman, and he was a mover and shaker. So he said, why don't you come work with me, Billy, at Smith Barney in New York? Oh my God. I got the opportunity. I got the opportunity to go to Wall Street. So 2 weeks later, I borrowed money to get on the train, and I took the train 2 hours to the 6th Avenue, Avenue Americas, to the headquarters of Smith Barney. Pat was a multi-million-dollar producer, and I had my shot, had my opportunity. And the goal was to work for Pat for 4 to 6 months, pass all my licensing, and then be a financial advisor on my own. So that was the goal. Always set a goal, always deliver as long as you follow them and you execute and you stay passionate. So I think it's a kind of a funny story. So I actually, the first day in the office, I actually was dating a girl, Debbie, and I actually used her ex-boyfriend's suit that was in the closet because I didn't have a suit. But it was nice and it fit. And I said, wow, my first day in the office. So I went in, guns a-blazing, minimum wage. I was getting paid, I think, $6 an hour. And I was one of Pat's 4 cold callers. So what is that? You pick up the phone and you smile and you dial. And we were calling potential investors all over the country based on recommendations that Smith Barney at the time was advising clients to purchase. So what a great day. I was connecting with people. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And then at the end of the day, we got into the elevator and I was with the 3 other cold callers. And Pat, of course, they kind of didn't, the Pat and the big $1 million brokers, they went their way, and all the cold calling guys making minimum wage. And by the way, if you got a new account, I think you got $100. We got in the elevator and there was a bunch of executives. And Quincy was one of Pat's callers, said, Billy, I never heard anybody as good as you on the phone. But tomorrow, you need to make a decision. So I looked at him and I said, wow, Quincy, I said, what's up? He said, well, you have to wear suspenders or the belt, because I had both on. I had the belt and the clip-on cheapies with the Bulls and the Bears, and I never wore suspenders and a belt again. So that's how I kicked off my Wall Street days. About 6 months later, I went on my own. I passed my Series 7 and multiple licenses, and we were off to the races. I spent the next 22 years as a financial advisor, not only in New Jersey, but then I moved back to Manhattan, and I worked at a company called Bear Stearns. And we all know about Bear Stearns, the 2008 market collapse. Well, guess what? Bear Stearns was a great environment to build your business, sharp elbows, and you eat what you kill. And that's my mentality. And it still is today in luxury real estate. Always luxury, always driven by passion, by doing the right thing, never getting chalk on your cuffs, and always being involved with that ultra high net worth individual that has multiple needs and to provide multiple services. And again, that's going to lead to where I am today with my luxury real estate business. So 22 years in the financial business, working at multiple private banks, bulge bracket firms in New York. After Bear Stearns collapsed in 2008, I moved on to a different firm, another reputable bulge bracket firm. But after 22 years, it was about 2014, I decided to transition my business. Took a little time off from the banking industry. And then I said to myself, you know what? I think I'm going to change careers and get back into something that I tried when I was 18 years old. And that's the real estate business. So I got my real estate license in 2017. I think it was 2017, after taking a couple of years off, kind of thinking through my life, right? We all have those midlife crises that we go through. Even if you're young, everybody goes through some sort of midlife crisis. And when I decided to go back into real estate, even though I was only in it for a couple of months, I knew, I was, at the end of the day, it was scary, right? Changing careers after 22 years, reinventing yourself, getting into a different business. But in a way, it comes back to your core values. No matter what business you're in, if you're passionate, you do the right thing, you service your clients, you camp by the money stream, good things happen. So I've always been doing that. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I moved to South Florida from the Northeast. So not only did I change careers, I moved 2,000 miles away. So I'm in a new community. I have a new business that I'm about to launch. So what I did is I passed the test, and I decided to think about the usual suspects, the bulge bracket firms, go back to work for a firm in New York. And then I, getting phone calls from the headhunters. Once you pass your test, everybody that's listing that is in the real estate practice knows that day you pass, you're like it's like the NFL draft. You're a wanted person. So, you get the calls from the headhunters. And then I thought, you know what? There's a firm that's in Florida that's been calling me. That's the largest independent firm in the state with over 7,000 agents, ranked top 25 in the US. And so instead of going back to that bulge bracket, New York-based firm, I went to someone that was family-owned, family-oriented, entrepreneurial. And I said, you know what? Very reputable. I'm going to put my license with these guys. And it was the Kai's company, Illustrated Properties. And I met with the chairman, the president, a guy by the name of Mike Pappas. And if you Google Mike Pappas and you're a listener, you'll see he's got so many accolades. Definitely a passionate guy about the real estate practice. And I'll never forget that first day when I met with Mike and we shot the shit for about 2 or 3 hours and talked about what my goals were and how I was a little bit nervous to get back into an industry that I only worked at for a couple of months when I was 18. But he said to me, With your passion and your background and your relationships, you just put the pedal down and I will give you the keys to do and build what you want to build. And that's exactly what he did. So after the first 12 months at the guy's company, I was the rookie of the year. After the second, third, and fourth year, I was ranked top 5, top 3 in the entire company. And we'll go to my first listing, of course. Your first week in the business, what do? You call your sphere of influence, kind of a fancy word for calling everybody you know. And I called all my old clients, and all of my relationships that I've built for years. Never hurt anybody. And at the end of the day, those relationships came back. And when I told them I was in a different industry in South Florida, it gave me the opportunity to, kind of hit the ground running. So my first listing in the luxury real estate business, I was 2 months in the business, and my first listing was $32 million. I called a former client that had a property for sale in Key Biscayne, very well-known global manager of some of the top bands in the world, including the Rolling Stones. And he had tried to sell his business for over a year, and was super excited I was now in the luxury business because he knew I could talk the talk and walk the walk. So I got it done. We sold the company. Still say company. We sold his, because I'm used to merger and acquisitions. We sold his property for $22 million. And that got me started. That gave me the taste. And one of the things that I was really passionate about was the branding. Branding is so critical in the luxury real estate business. I had no idea what I was doing, but at the end of the day, I knew what I wanted. And to get there, I knew I had to be passionate about it. So my first listing was an absolute success. I had another relationship come down and purchase my first 3 or 4 months in the business. About $7 million in real estate. And right out of the gate, I knew it was all about branding and leveraging those first couple of deals. So if you're a listener and you're thinking about launching into luxury real estate, or you're someone that has an existing business that has strong relationships, I don't care if you're selling plumbing equipment or if you're selling car, it doesn't matter. You have those relationships, and relationships matter. And if you can deliver value-added service, no matter what background you come from, you can build a profitable luxury real estate business and take it to the next level. So over the course of the next, 6 years, I've become a household name in South Florida in luxury real estate. I've been super passionate. I've hosted a television show called Selling Mega Mansions on the AWE network. I've done, luxury auctions with Sotheby's, concierge auctions. I've been on the buy side of luxury product. I've been on the sell side of luxury product. I do probably 15 to 20 deals a year that I'm super passionate about, whether it's on the buy side or the sell side. And I know one thing for sure, that when I step into the ring, I'm going to win. And that's the attitude you got to have in the luxury real estate business. You get in that ring and you got to win. And it's all about your attitude. It's not arrogance. It's confidence. What is the confidence you have in yourself and your business? And if you have that, you can take it to the next level. I love South Florida. I've done deals outside of Florida. I've represented billionaires. I've also helped some clients buy $150,000 condos. To me, it's all the same. It's delivering your passion, because one thing is for certain, and this is so critical. We'll talk about this in later podcasts. I heard a CEO of an awesome luxury real estate firm in New York say something a couple of weeks ago, and it's very important. Your reputation shows up in the room before you. Never forget that. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. So obviously I'm not in the basement anymore, and obviously I'm in the boardroom, but I had a lot of ups and downs over the last, 30 years getting to where I am today. So it's all about those life learned lessons that you could put to work in your business every single day to keep it passionate, to keep the loyalty with your clients, and to take your business to the next level. Thanks for tuning in to the Luxury Real Estate Podcast with Billy Nash. listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Go to my website, nashluxury.com, and also follow me on Instagram, nash.billy. Fire away your questions. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Have an incredible, productive week, and let's get some deals done.